Time to make some more GSL history here today. I am Wolf. With me is Brendan with a very different hairstyle, and it looks good.
Yeah, I got it up today. The woman, the makeup lady in there, she was like, "Oh, you look better with your hair up, so I'm going to change it today." I'm like, all right, that sounds good. Yeah, I think it's okay.
You can't always get it up, but when you're in the mood, you put it up there, and it looks good.
Gets up, yeah.
I'm liking it. You know, sometimes you get the unicorn style, but today it's looking a little more standard. Today we have, of course, back-to-back semifinals and then straight into the grand finals of this tournament. So we've got 4 players left, and these players have taken a journey basically through other tournaments to get here, and then, of course, have progressed through the round of 8. Maru playing yesterday as the player who advanced in the round of 16 through that little group stage there, but didn't actually make it to the top 4. So we have 3 Protoss players and a Zerg here in our final 4. So a PVZ and a Protoss versus Protoss to round things out before we go to the finals.
Yep, the PVZ being another Zest versus Sue matchup. That's going to be a great matchup. Those guys have a lot of history together. And then, of course, the other story is San coming through and defeating, well, I guess not really defeating Maru himself. Well, he did defeat Maru, actually. So he kind of defeated Maru, but he got into the group 2-0.
Yeah.
Over those 2 players.
Yeah, he had a great start into the group. I think we're going to take a look at actually our progression here, maybe our results, or just some sort of graphic. I thought we were, for a second there, going to take a look at our round of 4. But anyways, I guess we're not. So we have a PVZ for the first one, and that's going to be a rematch of the previous GSL finals. So, you know, Sue is the first player to go back-to-back to... Okay, now we're going to take a look at that CG. All right, so... Here we go, Zest versus Sue, the rematch of the GSL finals, and this time only one of them is going to be going to the grand finals, so no back-to-back for both of them here possible. And then we have San versus Parting. Now, San did play some pretty impressive matches yesterday, but against Parting, he's going to have to play a completely different matchup against a player who shows the ultimate confidence, sometimes so confident that it ends up coming back to bite him.
Yeah, Parting, I feel like he's just the guy who, you know, he has a lot of story behind him as well, but he's not really going to be as talked about as all the other players there, but he deserves to be talked about so much because I feel like he's going to show San a really, really hard time in that PvP matchup.
Oh, Sue almost cracking a smile there.
Almost.
The exact opposite of how he was yesterday. We've got quite a few fans coming down here to watch it live, to watch it happen. And Brennan, this is certainly going to be a good one. Now, for those of you wondering, these will be 2 back-to-back best of 5s that we're going to have before we go into the finals. Now, looking at Zest's stats here, he's ranked 4th in WCS, got a ton of points from winning the GSL final. And, of course, he advanced here into the round of 8 by being that Codes champion. Then in the round of 8, beat Parting 2-0, crushing him, and then taking out MMA 2-1 to get into the round of 4 in first place.
Yeah, I feel like Zest is actually a huge favorite here in this tournament. If he can get by Sue, he's going to have another PvP matchup which he's shown so much skill in, and it's going to be up against Parting, a guy that he 2-0'd, or San, a guy, you know, who we haven't really seen much of his PvP here, at least in Korea. But we'll see how he does there. But right now, Zest is going to be up against Sue, this player over here, the Zerg. Of course, being the runner-up here for the GSL Codes, he advanced into the round of 8 of this tournament. And you guys see down there, 2-0'd Oz, and then lost 2-1 to San. A bit of an upset there, but then he defeated Maru in that final matchup to see who got second place to make it here to the round of 4.
He looked very angry, especially in the last best of 3 yesterday. And we were told that he actually said as well in press interviews that he was, in fact, very angry. No one's certain why, but the Kingslayer Zest, who defeated so many champions on his way to the GSL finals, is going up against this guy. But Sue, he's not a king. Not yet. He lost in the GSL finals back-to-back to 2 Protoss players, first Deer and then Zest. And he's now in his 3rd chance to get a 3rd GSL finals under his belt. See if he can actually win it this time. Way Station is our first map. Do you think we're going to see him try to take the island here, Zest? I think he might go for that.
He could definitely go for it. We've seen Protoss do it before, play that air toss style and just take the island, but we'll have to see. We're going to get into this game. Before we go in, I have to say I love Zest's red hair. It's very fiery. It matches his jacket.
Yeah, it is. It's very good. I can confirm.
Confirming with the expert here.
And nobody has the authority on hair that I have, Brendan. All right, it looks like the map is loaded. It's time for the rematch of the GSL Finals, Zest versus Sue. The two rival telecom companies at it again, KT versus SKT here. This is the GSL Global Tournament semifinals. Map number 1 is Way Station.
Down here in the southwest, in the teal, the Protoss player for KT Roaster, he is.
KT Roaster, Zest.
Very focused. The top right in red for the rival team, it is
SK Telecom T1 Sue.
Sue is definitely going to be playing a very different ZVP than what we saw him play yesterday against San.
Yeah.
To be honest, Sue did not look very good yesterday compared to what we've seen in the past. He trusts in Sue, he says.
Yep, he believes Sue can do it. And if you guys have friends out there who are not watching this match, make sure you get them to watch this match. This is such a huge rivalry this has become between these two players. These two guys are going to create such an amazing best of 5. If you have a Protoss player, a Zerg player, even a Terran player that just wants to watch great StarCraft matches, make sure they're watching this one. It's not the finals, but it's still going to be great.
Well, he's looks like a Sue supporter here, or excuse me, a Zest supporter. He's calling him the Kingslayer.
Yeah. And that's such a cool name, man. I love the fact that he has that name.
Yeah. It was given to him by Korean fans. This is not something I created. Nickname I gave him. Well, hatch first into gas coming out here for Sue. So he doesn't want to have some early tech. And we do see from Zest, on the other hand, he's going into a fast Zealot after his Cyber Core. And he's going to be able to get a Mothership Core out pretty quickly. He's got a fast tech. Now, we spawned at close spawns on Way Station. The other way that this happens is, of course, cross. We have seen a lot of players end up taking the island in this matchup. Hold that thought. Let's look at Zest's PVZs. He's won against Sue, obviously, winning against him in the finals as well, beating Sulky twice, and also Solar, who was considered to be, for a time, one of the best DVPs we had in Pro League. So he's got a pretty impressive record coming into this one.
Yeah, the other record we got from our stats guy down, before the match started, he actually said that Zest right now is 9 wins in a row against SK Telecom. So that's another thing to keep in mind. All races, 9 in a row.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. Sue having some good wins here as well against some of these great players. I feel like the record of Zest is just much, much more impressive. You can see that we have a little bit more detailed results, a little bit longer results here about the matchup, and you can see still Zest just a little bit better here. Ro4 actually goes down. Sue is really being so aggressive today and yesterday, not messing around. He ended up beating Maru with a Ro4 all-in on his final map.
Yep.
He's just like all about these attacks.
That was actually, I'm glad you mentioned that, because Sue is like, he's changing up his style here a bit. He's being very aggressive. That attack we saw against Maru, where he had it totally planned out for the map on Frost, where he just circumvented the army of Maru and got behind it and did so much damage with that. It's really showing that Sue's practicing these really aggressive builds. As the Observer is showing us right now, making a bunch of Overlords here to have the supply ready to make a bunch of these roaches, and he's going to have the speed finish up as well to follow up with speedlings. This is going to be a big aggressive attack.
Funny thing is, before this attack hits, Zest is attacking, and he's protected this pylon now. The second one that he's made, the first one did go down. He had to cancel it. He's got 4 warp gates here, and it's really, really fast because he went core before his Nexus. So this attack is hitting super fast. Just only a few probes mining at that naturally. Stopped at 24 probes. This is basically a slightly higher economy 4 gate than you would see on one base. And he's making only Zealots here right now.
Yeah, and the Overlord actually flies over that pylon and he sees 5 Zealots. He's like, oh, what is this? You're attacking me? I'm just going to go to the front of your base and start attacking on those gateways over there. You got to warp in back at home.
Well, let's see. He's going to try to target down that sentry. Good force field here. Good reaction time by Zest. All he needs to do, really, Sue that is get enough units at home to hold. It looks like he's actually just going to recall these back. Not a bad choice, because with that, he will have enough units to defend here. One gate does go down. And this is kind of like what happens when two players go for aggressive attacks against each other. Well, the defender will have the advantage if his units are at home. Compositionally, though, there's still a lot of roaches tearing through those zealots at the front. If the wings get through, this could be a disaster, but it looks like he's going to end up holding here pretty easily.
Yeah, pretty easily indeed. More Zerglings on the way, though, but we have 4, well, actually now just 3 gateways being chrono boosted, getting out those warp-ins, but with the continuous lings that are coming in and no zealots here, actually doing a bunch of damage to Sue.
Yeah, one more zealot being warped, and now he's actually decided to pull the probes. Remember, the mothership used that recall, so it doesn't have enough energy for an overcharge right now. Good micro here on the roaches, just stutter stepping forward, avoiding the probes, taking out those damage dealers, the stalkers, and he has killed a few of those probes. Now going into the main base here. Now Sue has decided to transition back at home. He's been droning for a little bit now. He's also getting that lair up, so he's going to get one more probe here. Might even get one additional probe if he can hit it again.
Very efficient micro out of Sue here. Gets another probe with just 2 roaches.
Well, Sue is not in the best place he's ever been, but I feel like with the lead that he gets here by killing those probes and also eliminating a lot of the army of Zest, he can take a 3rd base pretty soon. He's going to lose that pylon, Zest that is, in the middle of the map too, which is kind of annoying. No longer has that forward warping point to work with. Just 100 minerals down. Robotics going up here. So Lair Tech is in a pretty good place right now for Sue. Let's see how he wants to follow this up, because he could just do another 2-base roach speed attack with that lair, or he might just try to take a 3rd base and get ahead that way.
Yeah. Right now he's just getting his roach count up a little bit here, not committing all the way. He's making drones at the same time. I'd love to see what he does with his next round of larvae here. Makes a bunch of roaches as well, and he starts the speed as well as an evolution chamber. So definitely wants to get this army units out, and he knows that the threat of Zest, you know, he still has a bunch of gateways here that he has to protect against. And warping in only zealots here against a bunch of roaches is going to be hard to fight, even with the mothership core there. It doesn't do enough damage, so he's just going to have to run away.
Yep, he is trying to run away here, and I mean, the mothership core's had some extra DPS on in the air, but it's not a lot. So the roaches kind of basically nonchalantly walk by, chasing those zealots down. Immortal's coming out here for Zest, adding 4 additional gateways. Looks like he's going to be following up with another timing attack of his own.
Stops at 44 probes. That's one thing to note. He's not going to be making any more probes here. He wants to put all of his minerals and gas into these units.
Well, I mean,
I feel like it's a good idea on this map. You know, the 3rd base is late. Can definitely, you know, either fight at the 3rd base, try to get that down. It's short positions here, like we mentioned before. You can definitely get over to the base over there, even without a pylon, pretty fast.
Well, I mean, it's funny because it looks like Sue is just also with the same idea, just going to be making a ton of roaches off of 44 drones with speed. So we're going to have yet again these 2 crash into each other like 2 rams battling for dominance. And I mean, what's going to happen here is really all down to micro, because there are a ton of roaches out. So that's one way to hold an Immortal push, but Immortals are great against roaches if they have the right force field. So he started to identify what's happening now with that Overseer, and I think that if he can get some Hydras out here, he'll have a good chance of holding. Oh my goodness, he's actually just going to fly those Immortals away, and I wonder what he's really going to get done with that. He has to make sure he does not lose those and they don't lose their shields.
And you know, I don't know how effective this is going to be, because he has a bunch of roaches just following it, waiting for the chance of one of those Immortals to just drop out. And Zest, if he has a mind of it, he's not going to drop it. Nice force shields here, is going to catch a bunch of these roaches, but you know, a lot of sentries don't do that much damage.
Yeah, and he has to use a lot of the force fields. So I mean, yeah, he catches some roaches here. I think it's worth it. It does slow down his push, which gives him more time to get those Hydros out. Mortal drop here in the main. Looks like he's going to target a Queen. Decides to go for drones instead here. Of course, an Immortal can 2-shot, you know, those workers, so he can just keep poking those down and getting away.
Yep. With the Warp Prism, you can definitely micro really, really well. And the, you know, the shields of the Immortal, very, very important to that micro as well.
Yeah, that's basically why the Immortal drop works, for 2 reasons, the shields and the 2-shotting. You put 2 Immortals in a Warp Prism, so they're able to 2-shot down a drone, then get away, and if they take some damage on their shields, it's fine, because they can't be bursted down easily. The real key is the Warp Prism. If you can eliminate that, then you're in good shape as the defender. A ton of cannons going up here back at home for Zest, as he knows a counterattack is possible, especially with the close positions like we have here on this map. This is a scary, scary attack with all those sentries. Those are what Keller and I used to joke are Kespa sentries. It's just almost too many sentries. The joke comes from when some of the Kespa players were switching over to Starcraft 2, they would just make like over 20 sentries. They didn't understand why you make sentries, and oh my god.
That's the cats you were talking about, gets the Warp Prism, and you know, with this many Hydras out here, Su has had so much time knowing exactly that this push is coming. I don't know if Zest can actually break this. Look at how many sentries are there. What is that?
17 sentries. That's like I said, almost too many. I think that might be too many sentries. Against these Hydras, Hydras are going to burst those sentries down faster than the sentries are really going to be able to make their DPS worth anything. You could basically discount the sentries as DPS. They're only going to be able to make artificial structures here. What he looks to be doing is trying to feign the push, maybe take a 3rd base and get Colossi out.
I think it's smart.
This is smart, but I still don't know. The thing is, attacking head-on into this is almost suicide.
It's suicide, but the hard part here for Zest as well is the counterattack. If Su comes around, we'll hold that thought. Here's the fight. Great force fields here, and 2 Time Warps go down. Needs more on the left. There he goes. Fighting, you know, half this army very well here with a ton of these sentries, but where's the damage here?
Even the army that's not firing is almost unneeded. GG. The force fields there were okay. You know, but it just doesn't matter. Again, with only sentries in your army, losing those Immortals hurts a lot, slows down the push, and you could tell Zest was like not really sure if he even wanted to commit there.
Yeah, that was kind of a weird game for Zest. He was a little bit flaky, you know.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to describe it.
He went for the push, but then he didn't commit, and it was slow. He like waited for another warp in, and he was doing drops with the Immortals at the same time. He was like still deciding if he wanted to go for it. And then when he went, Su had like +1 to his attack. He had so many units and Hydralists in a gigantic concave, and Zest attacking into that would have been suicide. So Su was just like, oh, I'll just attack you and end the game.
Yeah,
he just had way too much time to prepare.
Well, Frost is our map for set 2. It's the map that Zest chooses, and I'm a little bit surprised he doesn't pick Alterzine, because as we've seen in the GSL finals, he's actually excellent at playing Sky Toss late game, and he showed us that there. We'll see how he plans to play Frost. Frost, another big map where he could play a very similar style. When he went for hyper-aggression, they both did on Way Station, and I think part of that comes from the close spawns. I think we're going to see a little bit more of these 2 players' great late game on this map, and how talented they are at taking a 3rd base, holding it. And boy, does Zest look good with that GSL Finals pin on his jacket, man.
He really does. I wouldn't be surprised to see Zest go Stargate on 2 base, get some Phoenixes out, maybe an Oracle. But we'll see. They've surprised us before.
They certainly have, Brendan. Well, the map is loaded. Su taking an early lead here. Wants to get his 3rd back-to-back GSL Finals. No one has ever done that before. He could be the first. He's up against Zest, the Kingslayer. This is the GSL Global Tournament today, and we're going into the semi.